So the question here is this, has the market go crazy? Is the property market, is the property market still sustainable? So it's a question of valuation. So the question here is this, no, property price today, is it too expensive? Or is it still cheap? Or has the market go crazy? Now, there's actually a very scientific way for us to answer this question. Okay, whether the property price are too expensive. Okay, so we actually can use affordability to actually calculate the fair price of a property. So I think it's fair, right? If let's say the property are still within the affordability range of most people, most local people, that means the price is either fair or still cheap. Of course, if let's say a lot of property prices now are beyond the affordability, then, you know, this is where the bubble is forming, then the property are expensive. So I believe this is a good gauge to look at the prices of the property. Now, how do we actually calculate affordability? So of course, affordability is a factor of income. How much we earn is how much we can afford. There is no official statistics here, but anecdotal evidence actually suggests that, you know, on average, Singaporeans households use about 40% of households income. So husband and wife, about 40% of household income to service mortgage, or we are comfortable to use 40% of household income to service mortgage. So in that sense, you know, most Singapore households really use 40%, okay, to pay for mortgage, and actually from there you can actually calculate, you know, how much they can actually afford. So this Singapore is actually a very transparent place, actually quite interesting. You can actually find out how much people are earning per household. So this chart is a table from SingStats. From SingStats, of course, this is the official chart. It actually shows the average monthly household income from work, excluding employer CPF. So this is what the bank will use to calculate the loan that they can actually give. Now, how do you actually read this table? What it says here is this: the poorest 10% of Singaporean, okay, the poorest 10% of Singaporean, they are making about 1,805 per month. That's what it means, poorest 10%. The richest 10% of Singaporean, okay, they are making about 29,246 per month. So this is again household income, husband and wife. Okay, some household have 3 person. Okay, some household have 1. Okay, so based on household, and this is the richest 10%, the second richest 10%, the richest, and this is the poorest. Okay, that's how you actually reach chart. So from here, we can actually calculate if, let's say, for example, this is how much you earn, okay, how much the bank can actually lend you money. And of course, in turn, you know that what is your budget for property. So that is the logic behind. Okay, let me just work through an actual example, then you have a clearer picture. So 10204 income. So let's say I'm using this this range of people, 51st to 60 percentile, so about the mid. So about the median Singaporean. Median Singaporean, they actually make about 10,000, as you can see here. So let's say, for example, we use 40% of this income to do mortgage servicing. Okay, and usually you probably will have some age to achieve this income, cannot be fresh grads. So let's say this couple about 40 years old, interest rate about 3.5%. Now, why do I actually use 3.5%? This is what the bank will use to calculate how much they can actually lend to you. Okay, of course, we all know that the current interest rate is a lot lower, but for the banks, for them to do their due diligence, so for them to be a bit more conservative, they actually use 3.5%. So how much can this person borrow? So that is the question. Also, of course, if you can actually put inside the mathematical formula, so number of years, 25 years, the rate 3.5% divided by 12 because it's monthly. Okay, how do I get this 4082? This 4082 is simply just take 40% of this. So you put all this in a financial calculator, which is what the bank does. With this kind of profile, the bank is actually willing to lend to this family 815303. Okay, that's how the banks do a calculation. So let's say a family of making 10,000, 40 years old. Okay, the bank is actually willing to lend them about $800,000. Okay, now, so currently, every one of us can actually borrow 75% of the property value. Of course, we are talking about private properties, 75%. So let's say this is the borrowing amount, which is 75%. and assuming that they have the 25%, which is a very fair assumption because a lot of them are either, if let's say you're talking about 40 years old, they are currently probably staying in the HDB or really have saved some money in their CPF. So it's actually quite easy for that to have that 25%. So if you actually just take this 75% plus the 25%, basically they can actually afford a property about 1.08 million. So that's what it means here, which means to say, if let's say your household income of 10,000, okay, you can afford to pay about 1 million, and which I believe that is the fair price for a property, okay, targeting at this group of people. Okay, so hope this logic actually makes sense. So once again, what's the logic behind? If you actually earn $10,000, okay, you can actually afford to buy a $1 million property. So I believe $1 million is actually the fair price, okay, for the property targeting at this group of people. So if let's say, for example, to target this group of people, you sell at 1.2 million, then of course, okay, they cannot afford, then the price is too expensive. If you actually sell 800,000, then of course they can well afford, then the property price is actually still cheap. Then there's still a lot of rooms to grow. Okay, so hopefully this logic is fine. Now, so this is what I have done here. Okay, we have to understand that basically now currently in Singapore is 20%, only 20% of Singaporeans are staying at private properties. So I would assume it's the top 20%, and of course some from the 30 percentile. So I believe this is the main group of people who are the main buyers for properties in Singapore. And of course, as per this chart that we actually got it from SingStats, okay, this chart, I actually just transferred the number here. So this is their monthly income, and 40% of the monthly income, okay, this is the number. And again, as per the calculation, so if someone from the 91st to 100 percentile, the bank is happy to lend to them about 2.3 million. Okay, and again, this is just 75%. If let's say they can come to 25%, okay, they can actually buy a property about 3 million. So this is what actually I'm saying here. Okay, so with that, okay, I believe this is the fair price for properties targeting at this group of people. So if I try to put it very loosely, okay, if I try to put it loosely, if you talk about properties in CCR, Core Central Region, that means places like your Tanjong Bakar, Raffles Place, Orchard, okay, whereby the top 10 richest person of people will stay. Okay, property there, okay, that means they could probably sell at 3 million because this is what this group of people can afford. If you talk about RCR, then places like, for example, Novena, Tiong Bahru, or even places a bit like, you know, Farrer Park, okay, just at the outskirts of Core Central Region, okay, they are probably targeting at people who are in this range. So this pricing will be quite fair. Okay, if you are talking about OCR, that means condos in, like, for example, Tampines, Yishun, Ang Mo Kio, that means target this group of people. Okay, this price is actually quite a fair price. Okay, so personally, I would actually use this gauge to help us see whether the property is cheap or expensive. And so far, this gauge has been working quite well. So of course, again, as what John has mentioned earlier, not all the properties are the same. Yes, today I agree some properties are actually overpriced, okay, based on this list. And in fact, some properties are actually still way undervalued, especially if you are talking about the resale ones. Actually, quite a number of resale properties are undervalued based on this. Or you actually can think of it this way. Okay, this is how I can deal with it. So let's say, for example, I buy something at RCR, maybe Tiong Bahru. If I buy something about 1.5 million, okay, next time I want to sell at maybe 1.8 million. Okay, should be quite easy. Why? Because the people that I target, okay, they can actually afford up to 1.9. So I 1.5 sell 1.8. So it's actually within the affordable range. I think it's actually quite easy to sell. But if let's say today at RCR, you actually buy something at 2 million, okay, and you actually want to sell at 2.4, okay, and of course you'll be targeting at this group of people, okay, then probably you will have some challenge because it's actually beyond the affordability. So this is how you actually use this number And like I said now, so with this number, you can't say whether now currently the market is too cheap, too expensive. Okay, all the properties are quite different. You have to use this and compare individually. And I think this is where our value add comes in. So today is a time whereby, you have to be really careful. Okay, some property, they are overvalued. Some property, they're still undervalued. You really need like a professional eyes to help you to see that whether this property, is it over or undervalued. And this is the kind of analysis we can do to help you make sure you're not overpaying for property. Yeah? Okay, I actually went one step further to help you to come up with sort of like what you call like a fair per square foot prices. Okay, so of course now there's actually two school of thoughts. So basically we think that this is, we are actually talking about a family unit. A family unit. So there's one school of thoughts that actually says that, probably a very decent family size property is about 1,200 square feet. So which will work out to this number on a per square feet basis. Okay, so basically you're talking about if you're talking about OCR, okay, your Tampines, your Ang Mo Kio, it should be about this price. That's a fair price. If you're talking about RCR, okay, which is your Tiong Bahru, your Telok Blangah, okay, Novena, about this price. And if you're talking about CCR, okay, the fair price about this on a per square foot basis. Okay, so of course now we also see that the new developments, their units actually getting smaller and smaller. Okay, so it seems that this kind of per square foot price is quite acceptable. So of course, again, it's very hard for us to pinpoint the right number to see what is the right benchmark per square foot. So we have actually a range for you to have a sense. Then of course, then you can say, well, the range is so wide. Then what do you do? Of course, you can actually do an average. Okay, do an average. So personally, this is what I will do if, let's say, I'm actually looking for something like for example, in RCR, Telok Blangah, Tiong Bahru. If I'm actually paying for something about 2,000, I must be very sure that place is very good, has growth potential, because it seems to be on the high side. Okay, it seems to be on side based on this number here. Okay, on the reverse, if let's say, for example, I can buy something about 1,500 per square feet. So I think I don't need to think too much already. Okay, can go, because if I buy 1,500 per square feet, sell at 1,600, 1,700, not a problem. And y'all may ask, today Tiong Bahru, Telok Blangah still can find 1,500? Can. You can ask John. So in fact, John just helped one of my good friend to buy a very good unit. I think my good friend is actually quite happy right now. So the answer is yes. So hopefully with this, you have a guide to know what is cheap, what is expensive. Once again, you cannot make a sweeping statement saying that now the price is all expensive, all cheap. Okay. Today, you have some expensive, some cheap. You must know how to differentiate. I know we are repeating this because it's important. It's just that there are some people who just rush in the end, buy an expensive property, okay, cannot sell, and of course bring their family into distress. That is what we really want to avoid, by doing all this webinar.